Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to get started with our alumni panel. Before we get started, I will introduce myself. My name is Isabel Casas, and I am the From Here to Career Student Employment Advisor here at the Career Center. This week is a very special week for our team. We're celebrating National Student Employment Week. We've had various events and programming going on since Tuesday. So this is our last event to kick off this wonderful week to acknowledge and recognize all the amazing student employees and all the work that they do. So today's alumni panel, we will be talking about pathways after graduation and what's next. And I will go ahead and get started with our agenda for today. So our alumni panel event will consist of opening remarks. I'll share a little bit about our program and who we are and what we have to offer for those of you that are new to the program. We'll start with introductions. I'll introduce the panel and we'll get started with our discussion, and we'll get to hear from their experiences and their stories and how they came about to their current positions. We will have time for Q&A at the end of the event. So if students, you have questions for our panelists, mark them down in your phones or in your notes. We will have time for you all to share. And then I will go ahead and close off with closing remarks and share key takeaways for our event. So with that being said, we want to learn from our audience and who's joining us today. So if you are able to, please share in the chat your name, your year, and major. And if you're From Here to Career student, please feel free to plug that in the chat so that we know you're here and we can mark you as attended for this alumni meetup. But I would love to see who's joining us today. Carmen, MBA. Few students from the University Library. Shout out to the library. Trish, second semester junior, entertainment media management major. I'm seeing a lot of students that were at our previous event earlier this morning during our resume workshop. So we thank you guys for joining us this afternoon for this session. Ariana, senior, graduating in May, marketing major. Junior, business admin, real estate. Nicole, film production freshman. Thank you for coming. Susana Radillo from Here to Career program. Shout out to Susanna. Creative writing, Daniel. Amazing. Awesome. We have a really great group joining us today. So thank you all so much for being here. I see a couple of our Here to Career students as well. All right, perfect. So let's go ahead and I'll talk about From Here to Career. So From Here to Career is a program that is housed in the Career Center, and it's one of the many benefits of working on campus and being a student employee. This is a professional career development program that is available to you. So if you are a current student employee, or if you're thinking about working on campus, this is a program that you are able to take advantage of. And essentially, this program allows student assistants and supervisors to learn skills that future employers are looking for. So throughout the past 9 months, our student assistants have been engaging in an online course through Canvas and learning about different topics such as workplace readiness, self-knowledge, and work-life balance. We've been talking about job search prep and networking. So a lot of great topics to help prepare students for what's next in their career paths. Another great benefit is that you have access to peer mentors, such as Mejia and Mo, who are joining me today for the session. Another great benefit is that you have access to these alumni meetups. So what's really special about today's event is that it gives you insight into our program and the benefits that we offer. Our alumni meetups where we invite alumni who were previous student employees, where they get to share their experiences and how transferable skills and how their jobs help them post-grad. And then we also have our end of year celebration where we invite the students and the supervisors that are in the program to just celebrate and honor student employment. And then we offer certificates to those that successfully complete the program. You could put this on your resume, you could put it on your LinkedIn profile. And then we do also offer the opportunity for students to be nominated and selected for the Outstanding Student Employee Award. So again, this program will be open for applications in the summer. So if you are interested, we will share our contact information at the end of the event. But just to give you guys a preview and introduction to our program. These are just a couple of pictures of our previous events and our peer mentors this year. So again, take advantage of this program. We are here to help support you all. And now we will go ahead and get started with introducing our wonderful alumni panelists who have taken time out of their busy schedules to come and talk to you all. So I will get started with introducing our first panelist. We have Yannelli Mejia, who is a dedicated professional currently serving as the ticketing and technology coordinator for the Office of Student Development and Transitional Programs. She earned her bachelor's in Family Consumer Sciences from CSUN in 2021 and is currently pursuing a master's in educational counseling at USC. During her undergraduate years, Yannelli gained valuable experience in various roles on campus, such as being a peer mentor in the CSUN mentorship program, Matador mentor for the new student orientation team, a new member, educator for her sorority, after-school teacher at Vaughn Elementary, and social media coordinator for clubs and organizations at the MIC. We also have Gabriel Castaneda, who currently serves as the circulation desk lead at the University Library Guest Services. Gabriel has been working at the library for 20 years. He first started as a student assistant in 2003 and became a full-time staff member in 2007. He received his BA in English Creative Writing with a focus on poetry. And also next up, we have Ashley Reyes. Ashley currently serves as the legislative deputy for Los Angeles City Council member Ulises Hernandez, Council District 1. As a legislative deputy, she works with the policy team on creating policy proposals and assists with the communities that the council member sits on. In 2022, she graduated with her Master's of Public Policy from the UCLA Luskin School of Public Affairs, where she pursued concentrations in voting rights and immigration policy. She also graduated with her Bachelor's of Arts in Political Science from CSUN in 2020. As a Matador student, Ashley held various law internships, including the Central American Resource Center as an immigration law intern. She also worked part-time as a cashier at Big Five Sporting Goods and Target in Northridge. And last but not least, we also have Andrea Belayan. While studying for her undergraduate degree in business law, Andrea worked as a student assistant on campus for the Department of Recreation and Tourism Management for over 2 years and tutored for the on-campus Business Law and Systems and Operation Management Department. She was nominated for the Student Assistant of the Year Award in 2020. After graduating from CSUN, she returned to campus to work in an administrative role for the Recreation and Tourism Management Department and has recently transitioned over to her current role as the Digital Media and Web Specialist for the David Nazarian College of Business and Economics. So I wanted to give a virtual round of applause to our wonderful alumni panelists for joining us. And I will go ahead and stop sharing my screen so that you can see us. So we'll go ahead and we'll spotlight our panelists. Thank you so much. All right. Awesome. So first off, for our panel, we're going to talk about different topics such as allowing you guys the space to share your experiences as being student employees. We'll talk about graduate school and applying and attending it and what that experience was like. Talking about the transition from being a student into the professional world and what that was like for you all. But essentially, we're highlighting the diverse post-grad pathways that you all have embarked on. So first up, the question that I'll pose to the group, could you share any experiences from your time as a student employee that helped influence your decision to pursue a specific pathway? So I'll open it up to the group who would like to share.
Ladies first. I don't mind sharing, but I wanted you guys to go first. Unless you really want me to go first. All right, I'll go first. So the question was how the student assistant you came into your path, right? Kind of. Is that kind of the question? Can you repeat it one more time?
Yeah, of course. Could you share your experience from being a student employee and how that influenced your decision to pursue the career path that you are in?
All right, so mine's kind of interesting because I didn't want to work in the library. I didn't want to be here at all, whatsoever. And I was offered the job and I turned it down at first as an emergency hire. They were like, hey, we want you to take over now that this person left as an emergency hire. I told them no. I told them, give it to somebody who really wants it. And I don't want to waste your time because I'm out of here. I graduated in a year. You know, I don't want to waste your time. They were like, no, but that's why we want you because you're considerate and you care about us. Don't worry about us. You know, take the money. It's good money for a student. And if you don't want to be here, you don't have to be here. So you know, so that's why I took it. And generally speaking, what I took from my path because I love working here. I'm like living stress free. You know, I'm always like feel energized and work-life balance is amazing. And I work with great people, including the students. But one story that I would like to share, kind of that highlights that specific story, but also in general, what I learned is that there was a moment before that happened. They asked me to work that. We have a storage system here. And I remember they asked an employee at the time to go get something from storage. And she was like, oh my God, told the supervisor this, oh, I don't want to go back there. Like, I'm tired. And then the supervisor looked at me and was like, Gabriel, can you go get it? Right on it. I ran back there and I got the item, gave it to the supervisor. And the supervisor told the student, see, this is why I like Gabriel. Because when I ask him to do something, he doesn't act like he's doing me a favor. He act like he's doing his job. So I think generally what I learned is always try to do your best, always be great, because you never know what kind of opportunities those are going to present to you. And that's literally been my whole story throughout like my time, my 20 years that I've been here at CSUN, whether it be me or somebody else, like how you behaved and the relationship you built when you didn't know what opportunities might come about have really affected the course of my life. So that's kind of my story.
Thank you for sharing, Gabriel. It's wonderful to see that how your journey has evolved from being a student assistant to now being a full-time staff and kind of being in this in higher education for over 20 years. Do you mind sharing, you know, how has that experience been like, or how has your role evolved over the past 20 years? What has that been like for you?
Well, the past 20 years has literally taken me through almost every role of leadership, whether it be starting as student assistant, which I guess so that's I'm from the bottom entry level position all the way to managing my own department. before I got to my current role, which is the lead of the circulation desk, which is the main hub department of the library, I used to run my own department of the teacher curriculum center, and we did everything from shelving to checking out books, packaging, cleaning. Like, it was all in one small little library, and I reported directly to the associate dean. So my path has taken me through all different levels of leadership, and I've actually learned quite a bit. I work people. When I first went to the TDC, I worked with people who were in their 50s and 60s, overseeing them. And so that also kind of brought its own challenges, me being young and not knowing any better. So yeah, I've learned a lot, and I've taken a lot of different roles, and yeah, uh, that answers the question.
Yes, perfectly. Thank you, Gabriel.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much. And for our other panelists, would you guys like to share your story, and how that experience has been like for you, up to this day?
You want to go first?
You can go first.
It's a-
I'd like to share. First of all, hi everyone. Good afternoon. So when I was a student assistant, I was working in an office environment, and my supervisor was she was really good at guiding me and seeing like my strengths. And she assigned me a project to work on like an online newsletter. And I had never done it before. And at first I wasn't really that excited to do it because I wasn't sure if I would do it well. But as I started working on it, I started to love it. And eventually, working as a staff member on campus, I upped my game and I started doing it with HTML. And now today, I'm going to be working on newsletters and sending them out to students. And before it was just for the students in the department, but now it's to the entire college, which is about like 6,000 students and more. So everything really just built upon the beginning. So I would say if your supervisor ever comes to you and says, oh, I have this project for you, don't say no. Say yes to every opportunity that comes your way, because you never know where it will lead. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Andrea. I think that it's amazing to see how that one project just evolved to where you are now. So thank you so much for sharing. And Yannelli, would you like to share your experiences?
Yeah, of course. Hi everyone, I'm Yannelli. Similar to Gabriel, after I graduated, I was like, I'm out of here. I am going to try new things. I was super excited to start working at an elementary school because it was my passion. But during my undergrad, as you mentioned earlier, Isabel, I was an orientation leader and a peer mentor. And in those experiences, I got to help out with orientation and commencement, so the starting point and the ending point of students, leaving the campus, of course. But I enjoyed it so much watching them first come in with like that nervousness of like, I don't know what's next. And then, of course, that when they walk across the stage, that excitement of, oh my God, I'm finally done. I did it. I'm a college graduate. So when I started working at the elementary school, I realized it doesn't give me the same passion, sadly, that I got from being an orientation leader or a peer mentor. But I currently now work in the office that I worked in as an orientation leader and a peer mentor. So when they reached out to me asking if I was willing to be an emergency hire, I was like, no, I don't think so. I don't think I would be doing a good job. I'm not too familiar. I just graduated. I'm not too sure. But I said, you know what? I'm going to give it a try. And I got to experience all those things all over again. And I stuck here and I applied for the permanent position, and I said, yeah, I'm gonna want to be continuing and being a part of those amazing moments with students. So that's how I kind of got here.
Thank you, Yannelli, for sharing. It's amazing to see how your NSO orientation experience, and those special moments that you shared with students, kind of motivated you to continue servicing students in your current role. And I see in the chat we're having some issues with audio. So I will do my best to speak a little bit louder. That way students can hear. So hopefully that can help. With that being said, Ashley, would you like to share a little bit about your story as well?
Sure. Hi everyone. My name's Ashley. I would say I did have a slightly different experience than the rest of the panelists because I did work throughout my undergrad years at CSUN, but I didn't necessarily work on campus. I worked outside of campus. So I was a cashier at Big Five in Northridge, and I was also working at Target at the time. Um, and I do feel like those experiences didn't necessarily influence the pathway that I chose moving forward, but there was definitely skill sets that I learned, like problem solving, conflict resolution, working in a fast-paced environment that definitely translated to the work that I do now. But I would say a lot of the influencing factors for me were the different amount of internships that I did. But yeah, that's just a little bit about my backstory about working at during my undergrad.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. I can definitely agree. Working in the customer service industry, a lot of the kind of people skills and working under a high intense pressure environment with working with the public does bring about a lot of great transferable skills and experiences. I know for me as working in fast food, I found myself using a lot of those experiences in current positions. So you never know, again, what skills you might gain from experiences that you are in or clubs that you're in to where you go into the future. So Ashley, I wanted to ask a little bit about your experience from navigating that transition to undergrad to graduate school, and how was the transition for you, or any challenges that you faced? Could you give us a little bit of insight into that experience?
Yeah, so I did my undergrad in political science, and I graduated in 2020, right after I went to grad school. So literally a couple months later, this was during the pandemic. So I had to also grapple with, switching from in person to now virtual. And I did my master's program at the UCLA Luskin School of Public Affairs, where I did my master in public policy. That transition was definitely a bit challenging in some aspects. One of them being just a different, like switching from information that I wasn't really used to. In my master's program, there was a heavy emphasis on economics, on statistics, which is not really something that I had focused on in undergrad. So it was like making that switch to really familiarizing myself with that material. But some of the ways that I navigated that was, taking advantage of my peers, going to tutoring, just leveraging all the resources that I could in order to really advance in that field, especially with me not being familiar with that. But, in the end, was able to take a lot of the knowledge that I learned at CSUN, honestly. I think I took a lot of great courses that really established the basis for what I needed for grad school. And that's just how that was my experience.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. I thought it was really insightful that you had talked about leveraging your peers and resources as instrumental in kind of guiding you through that graduate school search. I was interested in learning more about your decision to pursue a career in policy analyst. And were there any experiences from undergrad that motivated you to pursue a master's in public policy?
Yeah, so as a junior, I believe at CSUN, I had actually gone to DC for a semester through our CSUN in DC program. And I interned for the Central American Resource Center as a immigration legal intern. At that time, I was on a pathway to be a lawyer, according to myself. I think I had those ambitions, but after doing several internships. I had also interned as a civil and family intern at the Chatsworth Courthouse. And then now having this internship experience at the Central American Resource Center, I just, like, something just awoke in me and was like, you know what, like, this isn't the pathway that I want to move forward with. And right after I came back from DC and having completed that internship, I took a Latino politics course at CSUN with Professor Morin. And that was the course that I absolutely love. It was like analyzing the ways that the Latino community votes, analyzing those trends. And so I really wanted to move forward in that pathway. So I remember meeting with Professor Morin various times and like talking through, you know, what I loved, and he helped me out, like, craft you know, different pathways. So he had suggested the Master in Public Policy program, because one of the things that I wanted to get out of my master's degree was more tangible skills. And I felt like I had the basis and the knowledge from these courses at CSUN, but I definitely wanted some more either quantitative analysis, some more skills in economics. I wanted to really intersect the two. And so that's what led me to pursue my Master in Public Policy, was because I wanted these skill sets. I had done my concentration in voting rights policy at UCLA. And so I think I was really able to get what I learned from the courses that I took at CSUN, but now like use the actual skill sets, like using Esri and GIS mapping, and like doing the regression analysis on like Excel and different like other platforms. So yeah, that was what led me to pursue my Master in Public Policy. And now I work for Council Member Eunices Hernandez as her legislative deputy. And so I kind of stuck on that same pathway.
Awesome, thank you. I loved how you had shared that your master's degree kind of allowed you to take on that you know, hands-on approach with learning, and you built that foundation in undergrad, and you were using those internship experiences to really gain that hands-on knowledge to see if being a lawyer was something you wanted to do, or try out different things and different pathways. So thank you so much for sharing. And for Andrea, I wanted to check in and see, as a business law major, could you share any memorable experiences from undergrad that influenced your career path?
Yes, so I remember in one of my classrooms, my professor said, I wish my clients would come to me before they would make decisions so we could find a way to do things the legal way. And this is not to say that like the people that she had as clients wanted to break the law, but that, you know, the law governs our lives. And if we don't know the laws well, then we don't know when we're going to be breaking policies here and there. And I chose to study business law because I was very interested to see how businesses could be vulnerable to legal issues, like how they could leave themselves open. And I feel like now everything I do comes from a legal perspective. So like if you're not aware of the laws that govern our lives, you can make mistakes. So I always have that legal perspective in everything that I do. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. And then in terms of your current role in digital media and web development, what advice would you have for students that are interested in pursuing a similar pathway?
Just really be creative, gain as much experience as you can, networking is really, really important. Just even mentioning in a casual conversation something you think no one is ever going to remember will actually lead to a job opportunity down the line. You know, you should build a portfolio of all of your work, become a master in Adobe Suite, study HTML code if you want to work with websites, and just stay up to date with technology and current trends. AI can be your friend. Don't be afraid of AI. So
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. And networking and mentorship is definitely a topic that we cover within the program, but it's also one of the topics that we want to talk about in the panel. So I wanted to pose a question to the whole group, and see if, how was mentorship and networking important in your career development? And how can CSUN students leverage their time to build meaningful relationships?
I can maybe jump into. I definitely second everything that Andrea was saying, especially when it comes to like having more folks in your network and putting yourself out there. I definitely think that it takes a little bit of risk, even though it's a bit uncomfortable. For myself, I was a part of like the San Fernando Valley Young Dems and the Latino Coalition of LA, and I really think that being a part of those organizations and in a network of like-minded individuals really helped to where I am today. It was because I remember going to a San Fernando Valley Young Dems event and meeting someone who worked for Councilmember Monica Rodriguez. And in that conversation with myself and the housing and homelessness deputy, I had like thrown out there that I was a recent graduate and I was like looking for an opportunity. And he was like, we are looking for a field dep or a legislative deputy, like you should apply. And I honestly think it was because I established that connection that I was able to get an interview with Councilmember Rodriguez's office. So, I would highly recommend students to be a part of different organizations, whether it's a part of CSUN or if it's outside of CSUN, to definitely get involved, to get to know folks, and to really just share your story with other people, and it'll go a long way.
Thank you, Ashley, for sharing. I think especially for students who are freshmen, sophomores, earlier years, I think getting involved is a really great point of advice to leverage the connections that they're building and that they will build, because you never know that will lead you. And, especially for our graduating seniors and connecting with the peers and professors and the people within their current network and building those, and hopefully that will get them to where they wish to be. On the topic of post-grad pathways, I wanted to see for Yannelli, how has the transition been like managing a full-time role while also pursuing a master's degree, and what kind of brought you to apply, and what was that experience like for you?
Yeah, of course. So I'll get started with the one that got me to apply because it kind of connects back to the networking. I made during my undergrad, I would always constantly be volunteering for things. Like if I saw an event happening, I would be like, hey, I want to check that out. Do you need extra help? It also helped boost my resume in the sense of like I was a part of these huge programs that were occurring. But within that, I got to meet two individuals. That one works at the Matador Involvement Center, and the other one, she is the assistant director here in our office. And they actually are the ones who pushed me to apply to USC because they saw how I interacted with students. Because as I mentioned, I was fully in depth into working with K through 12. I was like, no, college students, I can't handle them. I can handle little kids. I can do this. But I was completely wrong. I didn't realize how much I enjoyed talking with students. So that's kind of what pushed me to apply to USC and specifically educational counseling. And then of course my advisor, who kind of was a little whisper in my ear that I could achieve many things. But in regards to managing full-time work and going to grad school, I gotta be honest, it's not easy. So I do want to put that out there up front, but it's not easy, but it's manageable when you have a good team, if that makes sense. So you have a good support system. So I do have an incredible boss who works with me to kind of manage my job duties to make sure, and that's communication. You want to make sure you're communicating with them. Like, this is what I need, and this is how it'll help me help you. So he did an incredible job of helping me set up my schedule where I have enough time to study. I have enough time to do what I need to do. And then, of course, I set my own schedule and making sure I set 30 minutes to an hour break every day, whether it's just to go for a walk or get some food. I set that time to just reposition myself into the placement I'm in, because going from work to school, then back to work the next day, my mind is wandering constantly on what's going on. But that break really allows me to take that pause and really say, you know what, this is me time. This is me to manage what I need to personally, or if I just need a moment to think about what's going to happen in class and how, what's next, etc. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Yannelli. I think that me time is a really great reminder for all of our student employees to, while they're managing their busy schedules with class, and then they go to work and then class again, and after hours and studying, that me time really comes important when we're kind of towards the end of the semester, and that's a really great reminder. Thank you so much. And Gabriel, I was interested to see, I know you had a poetry background, and I was interested to tap into, how do you apply your creative background into your daily work at the university library, and maybe how has that influenced your approach to servicing students?
Yeah, that actually affected everything I do. Now, I was in a positive way, and I think it's a funny story. When I first started writing recommendation letters, like, I was poetry background, so I would literally alliterate everything. Like, this student is a dedicated, what I used to write, like all D's, and I used to like get poetic with my recommendation letters, which is not a good idea. But no, I think it affects everything that I do. For example, currently I'm part of a group called the Functional Fulfillment Committee, and it's part of the ULMS for the Cal States, United Library Management System. And I'm creating the first ever customer service policy for all CSUs, libraries, CSU libraries. So I'm personally writing that. It was my idea, and I'm working on that right now. Even here in the library, there's actually, we're bringing it back this year because the pandemic kind of stopped it. But we have a tradition here in the library. Every year we do a appreciation luncheon to give props and honor our students who do a lot of work and are very important to us here. We actually have a very popular tradition we have one until the pandemic, where every year students get a chance to compete to different games for a trophy, and they could bring that trophy back to their department, kind of bragging rights that they won. And I actually came up with that idea, and with the help of Carlos Diaz, another staff member. That's another way that my creativity kind of showed out. So whether it be writing policies or coming up with different events or different ideas, I'm always, or writing really bad recommendation letters, I'm always using my creativity. So creativity is not just for poetry, not just for art, because I do have an art. I like to draw and create art, graphic design as well. But it's in everything that I do.
That's wonderful. I love how you just incorporate that into everything that you do, and I know that shines well within the work that you do at the library. So we're very thankful for you. And I know you had touched upon, working in the library and working at CSUN. You have that work-life balance, and how has that experience been like for you in establishing that balance? I know a lot of times for students, it can be a struggle to kind of place boundaries, and especially after graduating, maybe securing their first full-time role. What advice would you have, Gabriel, for students who are currently working on that balance in their lives and in their careers?
So work-life balance and advice to how to get that. Actually, like something Ashley says, she said something about she wanted a certain type of skill set, so she went and pursued that skill set, right? So that was awesome that she said that. I think a skill set that's often ignored is social skills. how to get along with people. And also, I think it's very important to pair social skills with self-awareness, right? Because you can be really social but annoying and bother people. And the reason why I mentioned that is because, just like Yannelli mentioned, having that support structure is super important, right? And no matter where you work, like if people like you and you get along with people, they will go on above and beyond for you. So if you're currently any student right now that's working, like, talk to your supervisors, get to know them. They're people too, right? We're all people. And I think you'll notice that if you do work on your social skills and if you do work on your relationships, they'll be willing to do a lot more for you, and they'll be willing to be a lot more flexible with you, and that can help you on your path to trying to find that work-life balance. So I think that's very important. And by the way, I also say that's a person that was extremely shy. Julieta knows because she's known me since I was a student. We both, she was actually my class 3 student supervisor when I first started working in the library. So I used to be extremely shy. So I speak to this as a person that was tired of being shy, tired of not having friends, and then went after it. And my skill set that I wanted was social skills, and now I'm too social. But that would be my advice to you. Please, please, please work on your social skills because not something you learn in school. So yeah, that would be my main advice. And that social skills will open up a whole world to you, including work-life balance possibilities.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I feel like across the board, I could definitely hear from your experiences, Gabriel and Andrea, Yannelli, and Ashley, just really the importance of investing in the relationships that you're building, especially for those of you who are student employees, and connecting with your supervisors and connecting with people in general can really go long's way in opening up opportunities that aren't available online, right? Sometimes with jobs or opportunities, there's only like a certain amount that is public, and then there's also those other job opportunities that are just offered because you connect really well with someone and they want to help you. So thank you all so much for sharing your stories. And now we will have time for student Q&As. So this is a great time for you all to type in the chat your questions for panelists. And we would love to hear from you all, and I will have Anmol helping me with moderating the chat and posing the questions to the group. All right, any questions, Anmol?
Yes, hello everyone. We do actually have a few questions. I think the first one was for Andrea. Han David asks, how are you guys using AI to help you in your positions?
For me personally, I use it as a tool to help me get my work done faster. So AI just does what you tell it to do. So you can implement that in many different industries to help you get your work done faster. So that's all I really use it for.
Amazing, thank you. Does anyone else use AI in their regular everyday work? Got it, thank you very much. Next up, what tips would you give to be able to achieve and maintain connections in a professional way? Would anyone like to go first?
Yeah, I'll go ahead because
Yeah.
actually, you go ahead. I think I'm going a little rant, but you go first.
Okay, I'll just say something really quick. So I think the way that I've maintained my relationships, even like with some of the professors at CSUN, is I usually give like yearly updates. I remember emailing Professor Morin, who helped me throughout this process, even now. Like whenever I have something come up, I always reconnect. I'm like, hey, like this is going on in my life, and like would love to reconnect and chat. We all know that people have really busy lives, but I think just following up with the people that you meet is also amazing. A tool that I use is LinkedIn. So I have LinkedIn, and whenever I meet someone and I want to keep them within my network, I'm like, hey, like let's connect. I also have like a virtual business card. So I'd be like, scan my QR code and my contact info is there. Like, let me know if we could, ever work together, or if I could ever be of assistance. So yeah, that's just kind of the ways on how I connect with folks in a professional way. So that was that. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you very much.
I'll keep mine short because I can talk about this forever, but I do have a problem with the word professional in general and the way it's used. Because I feel a lot of people use that as an excuse to kind of hide themselves and maybe be too serious, and they're scared of kind of really connecting. Because the reality is that when you really try to create connections that create trust and the people around you, it's hard. It's really hard trying to balance like how much is too much and how much is too friendly. And so a lot of people, instead of taking that risk, choose just to be professional and just like be serious and not connect with people. So I think the way professionalism is currently viewed, or just in general, when people talk about professionalism, I do think is that kind of wall, that kind of shield, that that kind of, it's a way to hide, right? I mean, it's hard when you build real connections, and then it's time to discipline your students and be like, yo, that wasn't cool. And they're like, man, I thought you were cool. And there's that kind of awkward moment where like, I thought you were my friend. I'm like, but I'm your boss, right? So there's this very awkward moments, but I think it's worth the risk to really create those kind of connections. And I think once again, I think professionalism is a way to hide behind that. And a good example that I had recently, where I met with a group on Tuesday, had people from Pepperdine, from the libraries, Pepperdine, UCLA, a bunch of Cal States, a bunch of universities all over California, one from a different state, I forgot which one it was. But they were all mentioning that during the pandemic, they didn't have contact with their students and how hard it was because they had to rehire everybody from the beginning. And I told them that, I met with my students a few times during the pandemic just to kind of keep that connection. And when we reopened, all my students that hadn't graduated came back to me. I have very low turnover and people like to work at the library, at least for my department. And I think that comes from, just being like open and honest with them. And once again, it is a hard path to navigate, to maintain your boundaries as a supervisor, and still be able to kind of build those deep connections. It's hard, it's not easy, but I think it's worth the price or the risk. So that's my little rant of questions.
Amazing. Thank you very much. That is something that I can definitely use in my workplace. Next up, well, I actually like this question. Is there anything you regret doing or not doing in your career?
I can
I,
go.
I have one. Oh, but go ahead. Yeah, sorry, I talked too much.
No, um, sorry. I would say what I regret not doing is stepping out of my comfort zone. I was so used to just sticking to a lot of things that I knew, and granted I did step out just a little and go try a different position like social media, for example, that I did. Something I've never done before, but I do regret not expanding my skills even more. How y'all had mentioned trying new things. This is something I need to learn. So that I would say is my regret, but
I don't know if this is a regret just yet, but it's things that I do think about because I've been here like with total, including my student years, 20 years, 15 just as a staff member. I often think about like, should I just become a librarian? I would have been making more money. And instead I've been out here taking like, I learned how to play piano because, fee waiver, piano, guitar, I'm taking classes. Right now I'm taking singing classes, Japanese and dance classes. I'm out here living my best life. But in terms of like career wise, I like, would it have been better to just become a librarian early on, be making more money. But I think that would have taken me away from what I actually like about the library, which is the students and the people, and those connections that I built throughout the years. Some of my best friendships have come from like people that I worked with here in the library. So I don't know if I would have wanted to give that up, but it's something I do reflect on. Like, is this something opportunity that I missed out on? I mean, I can still be a librarian right now, but it's something I think about.
Amazing. Thank you very much for answering that. Next up is, what tips would you give to someone who's struggling to find summer internships and getting rejected from everywhere? What approach should we take to at least land an interview?
I can probably answer this. I guess the one tip I would say was kind of going back to your networking. Talk to your classmates, talk to your professors, like, hey, have you heard anything? Do you happen to know about any positions? Of course, you're not asking them to get you the job, but at least they're opening the door for you. They're helping you with that because they're going through the same process as you, or they were in your place. So you want to be able to bounce ideas off of them. Like some of them know for jobs that are or internships that are happening within their own internship. So that's one tip that I would get. And then to at least landing an interview, don't be afraid to talk about everything that you've accomplished. Sometimes students feel like they don't need to share certain information because it doesn't tie to the job. But I promise you, it'll tie one way or another. It's important to talk about how you can be beneficial to that position. Don't be scared to sell yourself. So yeah.
I would also like to share something kind of similar to what Yannelli said. Definitely leverage, the folks that you have around you. I remember when I was completing my Master in Public Policy program, one of the requirements was that I had to do some type of internship. And I remember interviewing for months and nothing was sticking. I also kept getting rejections from everywhere. And I remember reaching out to our student advisor and be like, hey, I've been struggling throughout this process. Is there any way you can help me? And I remember he would send me some positions that were open for internships. One of those being a policy fellowship with the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. And so I did end up getting that fellowship, but it was like a combination of one, reaching out to this mentor, but two, really solidifying my interview skills. I remember having taken so many interviews that I think I had familiarized myself with the types of questions that they would ask. I'd also took the initiative to watch different YouTube videos and research all loads of questions that they could possibly ask. So just so you prepare yourself and you're able to recognize the question that they're asking and pull from the answers that you kind of have mentally and being able to strengthen your case. So it does take a lot of practice. I would say don't give up. I know it could be a little disheartening, but I'm sure you will get there. It just takes a lot of perseverance.
Thank you all so much for your words of encouragement and advice for students. We will be closing our student Q&A. Oscar, I see that you have raised your hand. Please feel free to put your question in the chat and we will get to it. Hopefully we'll have our team help answer any questions that you might have. But just because of time, I will be wrapping up the session. But Oscar, if you want to stay afterwards, we can help you and answer your question. But overall, thank you all so much to Ashley, Yannelli, and Gabriel, and Andrea for sharing your stories and giving our students advice on how to leverage their network and mentorships and just staying involved and building authentic and genuine connections with people and how that can take you into your next opportunity. I really appreciate Gabriel's insight into challenging the concept of professionalism and being comfortable in sharing your story in an interview, sharing that story and who you are to other people, because that's really a key component to networking. And a lot of the times, it's a component that isn't talked about enough among students. So for all of you that are graduating seniors, I would definitely say give yourself a lot of grace during postgrad, and just acknowledge just how Gabriel had said, do the best that you can and be great. I think that's a really great reminder for students that we're doing the best that we can, and we wish you all the best. The Career Center is here to help support you all, and we are approaching the last couple of minutes of our session. For those of you that are still here to join us, we do have a feedback survey. If you all can please scan the QR code, especially for those of you that are in the program. This will help mark your attendance for your alumni meetup. This will just let us know how we did and any additional insights that you guys might have regarding the event and the program. If you would like to learn more about From Here to Career, please check out our new website. You can learn more about the program and the benefits. We're located in Baramian Hall, 413. Please feel free to check us out. Check out our website for additional resources and career link. That can be a really great place to start. But again, I just wanted to thank our wonderful panelists for taking time out of their schedules and sharing their stories and experiences to our students. Thank you all so much for sharing. Amazing. Thank you all so much. And Oscar, I know you had a question. Feel free to share.
Hello, how's it going?
Oh, well.
I recognize Gabriel. What's up, Gabriel? I used to work at the Freudian Sip across the library.
Yes, I know him. How you doing?
Yeah, so since pre-pandemic, I remember right after the pandemic, you welcomed me back into CSUN, and you were like, "Oh yeah, you know," and encouraged me to even apply to the library. But I finally made it to my senior year of CSUN, so I'm kind of in that road, kind of like that fork road, where I'm trying to decide whether or not I should take a full-time position that's based on my bachelor's degree, like financial analysis, or whether I should continue my education and seek a master's degree. And honestly, the only thing holding me back from that is financially, like financial aid and all those kinds of things. It's like a huge burden to pay tuition. So I would just say kind of like what advice would you guys offer, all four of you, in kind of you know, how to decide whether or not, you know, to do, because right now I work for Universal Music Group in Santa Monica, and I used to work for Warner Brothers, so the networking and all of that is there. But I'm just thinking, like, down the road in a couple of years, would I regret not doing a master's degree or not seeking further education? So yeah, just kind of like, what do you guys recommend as putting yourself back into that senior mentality, you know, and where you were at that point in your lives? Because I know that Yannelli, you're at USC, and then there was also someone from UCLA, and Andrea, you're like in the business department. So that's my kind of you know, road right now, and I'm right there in between of everything. So, and I have a mentor. I've met the Latino Business Association and the Student Finance Association, so I got to land the mentorship program from a financial analyst at Sony, and I'm meeting with her tomorrow. And I've already applied to Sony to see if I can gain some experience being a financial analyst. But I kind of, again, I'm like, well, what if I seek a master's degree? And that could open up even more doors. So I just want to get your perspectives on that.
Oscar, I have a question. Do you need the master's to get to the position you want to be at?
Not really. I don't think so, because like I said, my mentor currently, I think she's only done a bachelor's. But when I spoke to my professor, I have James Chong, he's one of the hard finance professors at CSUN. And he said that if you get to like a certain level, and once you've got into that level, and then they see some other person, let's say you're working for a huge company or a huge bank, and see that person come in with a master's, they're gonna go for that. Instead of just
Are you asking to be friends? Yeah. Okay.
There is a certain level where when you get to it, you do need a master's for certain positions. So if you see yourself in the future getting to that position, I would say go for it. Because if you're gonna need it in the future, it's like saying you want to be a doctor, you need the credentials to become a doctor. And if that position that you want to get to, that you're trying to reach for, requires the master's, then go for it. That's my personal recommendation.
Yeah, I would also add on Oscar. Hi, Oscar. I'm Genesis. I'm a career counselor. graduate school is a very involved process, and I'd encourage you to come into career counseling. So you can meet with a counselor and sit one-on-one and look at your unique situation and really like weigh out all your options and listen to what the research you've already done and those you've connected with. Because at the end of the day, it is a big financial decision, it's a big emotional decision, and it could or could not help your career, right? So it's important to look all the pieces. So I would encourage you to make a career counseling appointment and sit down with a counselor. That way we can do some career planning and see if graduate school is something we should consider for the type of industry you want to enter and for the roles you're looking forward to or looking to get into. So that's what I would say, because it is a super involved decision, but just like Andrea said, it's important to know if it's going to help you get the job that you want.
Yeah, I would love to actually sit down and make an appointment for the Career Center, because I think working for these huge corporations, you see that at the end of the day, the legal department is the most stable because they know all of the laws and all that kind of stuff. So they're the ones that their offices are pretty like, you know, they don't come and go because there's few people that actually. So if I were to seek like a master's or something like that, I would go sort of into the legal aspect of the business and stuff like that. But I would love to actually set up an appointment via Zoom or in person whenever I can.
Yeah, either one works. We do both. I put our contact information in the chat for you to reach out. Just email us or give us a phone call, whatever works for you, and we'll get back to you with our next available appointment.
I appreciate. I loved hearing all of the information and seeing Gabriel again.
Thank you so much, Oscar. Thank you again to our panelists for your time. We hope you have a great rest of your day, and thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you all
See
so
you.
much. We appreciate